Welcome to the 2025 Asia Pacific Photography Awards Photojournalism category. Images in this category use the medium of photography to tell an authentic visual representation of a story, whether it be political, sports, birth, travel, event, street, personality, or documentary photography that gives insight into contemporary issues and news. Images should be thought-provoking and represent real-life, interesting people, places, and other non-fiction stories. All photographs entered must have been observed, not directed or created, and captured without the intervention of the photographer. Only basic post-production adjustments are accepted in this category, such as tonal control, black and white conversion, sharpening, and cropping. The final image must remain an authentic representation of what was captured on the sensor. Post-production adjustments must not hide or introduce key elements of the image. My name is Sarah McGregor and I will be the panel chair for this category. And we have a wonderful judging panel of Craig Turner-Bullock, Michelle Fay, Johan van Kaan, Rachel Smith and Matt Palmer joining us today. We're going to start with a run through of the category. Okay, can we have the first image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a score of 83. And we will accept that score. Can we have a comment from one of the judges, please? Matt.
Yeah, it's a beautiful moment that's been captured. Gorgeous texture in the woman's face here. There's possibly a bit more narrative in here with the kind of Pooh Bear themed clothing as well. Perhaps a commentary on how as you get older, in some ways you get a bit younger as well, in terms of your reliance on family or connection to family. It could be improved slightly just by pulling down the highlights at the very bottom of the frame under the arms a little bit more.
Thank you, Matt. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a silver award at 83. Michelle, do you want to challenge?
Go on then.
Go for it.
Okay. I scored this image 86, so just up in the next range, just because of the amazing story and the capture of it. The amount of people that will have passes that will be jammed in trying to get the photo of them. They've probably just won gold. I can't really remember. I didn't watch that much gymnastics. But it's just the joy on their faces, and everyone else is just trying to clamber in. And whoever's on this side, the photographer has been in the perfect place to get their complete joy on their faces of them winning a medal for their country. And the amount of effort that these two girls would have been put in to get that standard, I can just feel the elation of what they've actually managed to do on the world stage. And it's just captured so well.
Thanks, Michelle. Craig, do you want to say something to this one?
Yeah, I can do. I've scored at 82. I appreciate all of that, especially those expressions. I think are really fantastic. I kind of question the cropping choice. I quite like the panoramic crop, but I find that white dot at the top really, really distracting, and perhaps you could have gone even more extreme on the pano to eliminate that distraction, and that would really help the eye just be completely in this moment of chaos and joy.
Thanks, Craig. Matt, can we hear from you, please?
Yeah, I think the photographer's been rewarded for almost being out of position in a way. Perhaps they're in position and they anticipated that this might happen, but you can see what a different perspective that they're getting on the decisive moment that the other photographers are just not going to get. I like that there's so much detail in the picture that you can see that Xiaochen Wang, who's got his press pass on the right there in the very corner. I like the idea of the story of him completely missing out on the shot, the poor fella. But I kind of see the action that's been captured here as well as it has being in the silver range for me.
Thanks, Matt. Back to you, Michelle.
Yeah, I can see those points but that dot, now I can't unsee it now, but it is there. But my eyes are so brought into those two girls, and the fact that all the press guys are clambering in behind them and trying to get the shot. And this photographer has actually managed to get the shot of both these girls and their amazing smile and elation of winning a medal. And I think just creep it up just a little bit and see whether we can give it a silver with merit would be lovely.
Thanks, Michelle. Judges, can we have you rescore and Michelle re-enter your 86 there? Thank you, judges. The image scores a silver at 83. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? And we have a score of 79. I'm going to have a challenge from Johan. Go for it, Johan.
Okay, so I gave this image an 83. There's a lot to love about this image, and those things that I love took me into the higher range in spite of the things that should bring it down. And I think its worst sin is the banding. And without the banding, it would be spectacular and stunning. The balance of the image is interesting because as they walk down the hill, you're going up in size of the characters as you're going downhill. So it's creating this wonderful triangle that ends at the back of them with that lovely fuzzy tree, and beautifully framed on the other end by a fuzzy tree. The colors are sublime except for the banding, but it's such a wonderful composition. I gave it an 83. It's sitting on 79. You have the opportunity here just to give it a wee nudge. It's all it'll take.
Thanks, Johan. Matt.
Sorry, Johan. I actually agree with all the positive things that you've said about this image. And you did also mention that you know why it didn't go straight to silver. There's also a few, they're not easy to spot, but they are there, dust spots within the sky. And also, I'm not sure if it's just him kicking up sand, so I could totally excuse it if that's what you want to say. But the lead figure at the base of their feet, the coloration of what would be the sky is quite different from what's around it. And maybe it is simply that they're scuffing up sand as they're walking, and that's what the change of color is. But that is a curious detail as well. But overall, I think photographer, yeah, it's a beautiful composition, as you've said.
Thanks, Matt. Michelle, you were also in silver. Do you want to comment on this one?
Everything's pretty much been said of what I saw and why I didn't go any higher. I scored this for an 80, and it's all really pretty much been said.
Thank you. Back to you, Johan.
They have some very, very big insects in that part of town that look like dust spots. I'm going to err on the side of dust being kicked up around the camel walker's feet, and remain happy with my silver score. Yeah.
Okay.
Come up, please.
Thank you. Judges, can we have you rescore, please? Thank you, judges. We have a silver 80. Congratulations to the photographer. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have a silver with merit at 85. Can we get a comment from one of the judges for the photographer, please? Craig, do you want to say something to this one?
Matt, you've got your hand up if you want to.
Sorry.
That's cool.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think the photographers created a really striking aesthetic in this image. The ball flying back towards where the light source is coming from works really well. I think in terms of improving it, or getting a higher score with this kind of image, it would be about adding more of the emotive content or more engagement with the actual athlete in terms of feeling what they're feeling, potentially.
Thank you. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We've got quite consistent scoring there. We have a silver with merit at 85. Could I hear from maybe Rachel Smith for a comment, please?
Yeah, I found this image really powerful. I mean, you watch a large group haka from the sidelines, and it's very emotive, and your skin tingles and crawls, and it looks to me like a sole female soldier there facing a very, very powerful display, and with with good posture and great stance and honor and pride, and I think for me the thing that brings it down the most is the quite flat light. I don't know what else the photographer in this situation could have done to mitigate that, because that's just the weather conditions, but that was what stopped me from going into the next scoring range.
Thanks, Rachel. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. So we have a score of 82, a silver award, and we will accept that. Could we have a comment from one of the judges, please? Johan?
There's a very strong sentiment that comes across here. The wonderful use of black space for this person to scream into. I feel the photograph would have done so much better if it had been pin sharp, if that intensity of the cry and the closed eyes had been reflected in the sharpness of the image. It would have been a very, very powerful image.
Thanks, Johan. Can we have the next image, please? Thanks, judges. We have an initial score of 86, which is a silver with merit. And we have an automatic challenge from Johan, who is sitting within gold with excellence.
This is a very powerful image. It talks of the hopelessness of so many things. I had to look up the quote, "Until the day breaks." Until the day breaks is waiting for a time of hope and light to overcome a period of darkness or hardship. And I feel that this bear has been waiting for a very long time. And I don't say that to belittle the image. I say that as an image of hopelessness and despair. That's incredibly powerful for something that is actually inanimate. The use of black and white to simplify the image, the raggediness of everything, the overgrownness of the feeling, it's just strikingly strong. I gave it a 96.
Thanks, Johan. Can we hear from you, Matt Palmer, please?
No, I'll talk. Yeah, thanks for all that, Johan. That's a lot for me to take on board there. I was seeing it as more of a found object, and I did get a bit of that feeling through it, but I think you've added some additional context that was needed. So thanks for that.
Could I hear from Craig, please?
Yeah, I'm glad you challenged this, Johan, because I had an immediate emotional reaction to this for exactly the same reasons that you did, but I wasn't brave enough to put a higher score than my measly 85. I'm not sure if I'm up in the excellence ranges, but I'm definitely coming up. I think that that it does have that, discarded, depressed, sad look about it. But that quote, I think, also really is emphasized by the fact of that light coming from the side, and perhaps the touch of hope is coming in and the day is breaking. So I'm coming up. I'm not sure if I'm coming up all the way, but I'll definitely be in the gold range.
Thanks, Craig. Back to you, Johan.
I want everybody to think clearly about what Craig just said. Yeah, it deserves a good mark for being seen and given back to us. I gave it a 96. See what you can do.
Thank you. Can we have the judges rescore, please? Well done. We have a gold at 92. Congratulations to the photographer.
Cool.
Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have an initial score of 88, but we do, however, have two judges on 91 who both have their hands up. Who wants to talk first?
How badly do you want to rescore, Craig?
You talk.
Okay, because I won't be able to rescore. Okay, so I'm sure all the judges read this pretty similarly, like a night in the life of a theatre venue, and it does the sense of community that comes through is really strong. The technique that's been used is so classically documentary, beautiful black and white images, processed gorgeously. It feels like this photographer has eyes on the wall throughout the entire venue. They give you so many different ways of viewing this event from start to finish. And I also think perhaps one of the narrative aspects of it that raises it maybe just that extra level into gold is in the first frame we see that there's only one poster, and it's the one I would assume closest to the venue entry. And then at the end there's no posters. So that makes me question, is this the end of this venue? And then is this reflective of what's being experienced by so many venues like this in the cities? So that I thought was perhaps an intentional addition of those poster frames, not only to show us the before and after, but also to raise questions, existential questions for these kinds of places.
Thanks, Matt. Rachel, do you want to comment on this one?
Yeah, I scored this one 86. I'm really happy to come up. I enjoy the story. Matt's commentary about the poster and potentially the closing of the venue adds quite a lot to me. There's a lot going on, and the more I sit with it, the more I engage with every aspect. So I can't fault it.
Okay, maybe if we hear from Craig, who was also on 91.
Matt, I'm really glad that I let you take that one, because my perspective on it was that it's closing night, that this is the final performance of this production. But I think that you've added an extra narrative for me that I hadn't thought of, and that it is possibility that there is the end of an era in this venue at the end of this performance as well. And now I think that I would perhaps come up and take this into the excellence range because of that extra narrative. If you look at every single frame within this piece, they all are absolutely beautifully executed. They are all compositionally fantastic, and every single one tells a slightly different story from the whole point of production, from backstage, front stage, the actors, the cleaner, every aspect of this production is covered in this piece. And yeah, so every part of this storyboard is essential, and I think we should consider taking this perhaps even higher.
Thanks, Craig. Back to you, Matt.
Oh, fine idea, Craig. I wish I could rescore now. I'll just leave it on a thought, and that is that perhaps for these people, it's not just a show, it's also their family and their community. And then perhaps the second last frame is them questioning, okay, what's next? And what does this life look like from here on?
Thank you, Ken. Matt, you hold your score. All the other judges rescore, please. And that is a gold award at 93. Congratulations to the photographer. Thank you to the judges for that discussion. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have an initial score of 90. We have 3 judges within the 90 to 94 range. Johan, do you want to take this one?
Sure, because center stage, since we've been talking about stage, center stage, we have a scene of sad life, maybe a good life for them, but sad for onlookers. To the side, we have we don't care about other people's lives. We just care about what's going on our phones. In front of that, we have a passing train or vehicle that suggests that life just goes past. Underneath, on the top of the fence, there's a cup and some food, and it just is wonderfully sad. The framing is beautiful. The modernity of the shelter, and then just the hopelessness of the man in the bottom. It's very thought-provoking and quite stunning. I love the panoramic aspect. Yeah, I gave it a 93. We can do better.
Thanks, Johan. Michelle, can we go to you and your score, please?
I scored this in a solid silver 83. I unfortunately probably quite hardened due to previous. The lights going past, it is how we are as a society. But unfortunately, I've also tried to help a lot of people like this. So you do unfortunately become quite hardened to the center stage. It is the safest place for him to sleep because it's not in the darkness. He won't get ripped off, and that space will be his space, which is why I see the other guys standing to the side, because they don't want to go into his fuddy, into his house, because while it's not much, that is his house. Sorry, so 83. Yes, I will come up a little bit. I'm not sure I can go gold, but I am listening to what you're telling me.
Thanks, Michelle. Matt, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was in the high silvers and looking to potentially come up as well. I think there's a few things to potentially look at, regardless of whether, like, how emotionally pulled you are by the subject matter. I think that there's deliberate juxtaposition. Obviously, you've got Anaheim resort there and all of the comforts that people would experience in a resort like that. But then you've got somebody that's kind of relegated to behind the brick wall where people come and go to somewhere much nicer than where this man needs to stay. I think there's also a poster on the right-hand side, and obviously at 100% we can't exactly say what that poster is, but it does feel reminiscent of missing posters to me. That may be just how I'm reading it. It may be what is really happening, but it makes me think of all the people that do go missing when they're homeless, and whether there's perhaps a poster up somewhere else for this man, or whether somebody had gone missing that was in a similar situation and now they're up on that poster. So it almost feels like that could be a progression of the story or a different aspect of it. Yeah, I think Johan said the rest.
Thanks, Matt. Rachel is also in the gold range. Can we hear from you, Rach?
Yeah, I scored this 91, so I just snuck it into gold. And the Oblivious Society, the safety and the light, all of that came through really strongly. I felt like it's beautifully balanced, but I think the photographer made a very clever choice in including the billboard in the very background and the word wilderness in the frame, because this is the new wilderness. This is the society of cities, and the light is the only safe place in that wilderness, and that's what's pushed me into the gold range there.
Thanks, Rachel. Craig?
All right. I would like to just add a couple of things as well. This is another one. The more I'm hearing you all talk about the details in this image, the little missing poster, the wilderness sign, the passage of time, the more I feel that we should be thinking about taking this higher. I appreciate the angle of this, where the streak, that yellow streak, is right through those two characters' faces on the left, almost to obscure their eyes. If looking down at their phones was not enough, there's a visual line there that stops them from seeing. The other thing that I think is worth noting is the editing choices here. The crop is very cinematic, the tonality is very cinematic, and I think that potentially could be a nod to the fact that Anaheim is pretty much the home of Disney. So there's a little extra layer of storytelling there as well that goes to cinema, I think, as well. And yeah, I wonder about the fact that we might have underscored this, and should we be going into that excellence range with this one as well.
Thanks, Craig. Johan, it's your turn to wrap this one up.
Cool. It's a road. I've worked that out. And how this is there's a bit of timing here that was serendipitous or just wonderfully made, where the two posts on the shelter coincide with one white light ending. There's a gap where the man lying, or woman lying down is, and then the next post starts the next white line on the road. Very strong stuff. The bins that bookend the bus stop, or the stop there, they give an environment within that which that person exists. There's almost like a cave drawing on the back. I mean, that's probably stretching things a bit far, but it's almost like a cave drawing. And so there's so many things within this. I love the idea that there's a missing poster. I love all those other things that other people brought up. And then to have it overshadowed, but whatever, by Anaheim Resort. You know, so powerful, so well seen, so well presented. What a story. Definitely worth more than I gave it. I gave it only 93.
Thanks, Johan. So if Johan, you can re-enter your 93 score, and the other judges can rescore. And we have a gold award at 93. Congratulations to the photographer, and thank you, judges, for that discussion. Can we have the next image, please? Thank you, judges. We have an initial score of 83. Michelle, you want to challenge that one?
Yeah, why not?
Go for it. Let us know your score, please.
My score, I scored at 88. So just up in the next range. It just captivated me, because when you first click onto it, it's like this massive big tent, and then you see the Olympic sign because it's white and it pulls your eyes, and then right down the bottom are these two people, because you don't know if they're male or female, fencing. And it's like, and then your eyes can go around, you can see people, and see, and it's obviously in Paris 2024, and it's just a really different capture, because right at the bottom where their feet are, it's making it look like the stage. And I just really like the different view of a sporting event that's not just straight on focused on the athletes. It's the whole atmosphere around them as well. So that's why I scored at 88.
Thanks, Michelle. Craig, can we hear from you, please? And your
Yeah, I am at 78 with this one. I might have been a little bit mean, but I've done it. I scored that for a reason. I love the fact that the fences are in that darkness right at the bottom of the frame. I think that's very clever. I really struggle with the composition and crop of this. I feel like the photographer made the choice to keep that left-hand side of the frame in just because that's where it most obviously says Paris 2024. I think that whole left-hand side is completely irrelevant to the piece here. If it was cropped into a square, perhaps the composition would have been a lot stronger. I also felt like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity for the photographer to step a little bit to their right to bring more of an element of symmetry into this, which would perhaps also have helped to eliminate that character that's standing in front of that left-hand screen as well. So I love the cropping and the choice made at the bottom of the frame. I feel that there's a little bit lacking in the rest of the capture.
Thank you. Matt, can we hear from you, please?
Yeah, I'll start with saying that Craig is bang on about the crops. So if you enter this in anything else, it would be awesome to see that crop. If you've got it, it would also be great to see the very bottom of the feet. I like the really adventurous presentation of the athletes, but it probably is cropped just a little too much. You can see that particularly on the back feet where the toes are cropped off. But what I can say in favor of the image is that it looks like the blow that's been captured might be the blow that's either leveling the scores or possibly even helping Team Japan get over Team Hungary, which is all the details that you can get from this image. You can see that the Japanese athletes struck their swords bent as it hits the other person's visor, which I assume is a pretty good scoring blow. And then the other athlete has their sword kind of going past the shoulder. So the photographer has captured the decisive moment while presenting it in a really unusual and unique way. So I commend that. Ours in silver, I probably struggle to go a little bit higher, but I think with some of the suggestions made, it could get there as well.
Thanks, Matt. Michelle, back to you, please.
That's why I put it in a nice silver with merit, because of I wanted to reward the photographer for the crop that they did, because they've pushed the boat out. I didn't want to go any higher because yes, there is that guy that's on the left-hand side who would be nice if he wasn't there, but it is what it is. I agree with you with the crop would be better, but they have given it to us. And I don't mind that Paris 24 there because you can actually see it on the corner as well, on both of the corners. But it just gives you the expanse of how big that tent is as well, because I'm assuming on each of the other sides, there must be more people watching. And it just shows you how big it actually is. And I think we need to just reward the photographer just a little bit more.
Thank you, Michelle. Can we have Michelle hold your score of 88 and the other judges rescore, please? And we have a silver award at 83. Congratulations to the photographer. That is the last image in our top 10 for the photojournalism category of 2025. A huge congratulations to our top 10 image makers and to all entrants in the category, and a huge thank you to our judging panel for coming here today.